right, here we go, everybody. Mod 12 open root groove welds, section 1. We're going to talk about groove welds. Groove welds can be done with or without backing. When they have backing, or they don't have backing, they're called an open root groove weld. You can do it on plate or pipe. The objectives are to identify various types of groove welds and describe how to prepare for groove welding and describe the technique required to produce various open V groove welds. So our typical groove welds, there's several different groove weld styles. The names of the groove is derived from its shape. So if a groove only goes part of the way through the joint, such as here, if it goes partially through the joint, the groove results in what's called a partial joint penetration weld. You can see here, test question, if a groove only goes part way through the joint, welding to the groove results what's called a partial joint penetration weld. Moving on down, there's some terms that we're going to have to know, these groove welding terms. Bevel angle, bevel face, bevel radius, depth of the bevel, groove angle, groove face, joint root, root face, and root opening. You can see here on the side each of them. You're just going to have to learn those, memorize them. There's pictures in here. So bevel radius is one that's going to be a test question. They're going to say the radius used to form the shape of a J or a U groove, and it's called the bevel radius. The radius used to form the shape of a J or U groove is called the bevel radius. Moving on down, we've got a few more terms that we're going to have to know. The weld face, the weld root, weld toe, face reinforcement, groove weld reinforcement. So you can see what those are here, and specifically when one of the test questions is going to be the point where, right here, weld toe, the point where the face of the weld metal and the base metal meet, and that is called the toe, or the weld toe. So moving right along, these are common root openings. You can see if it's a 60-degree groove, each bevel plate is going to have a 30-degree bevel. 2 30s equal to 60. The other common groove opening is a 45-degree, and in that case it would be a 45-degree across the top. It's going to be 2 22.5-degree. So let's talk about weld preparation. You have to be sure to wear appropriate PPE. Safety is important. Always wear glasses, proper lenses, proper leathers, proper hat, snug fitting safety gear, nothing loose. Before cutting or welding into containers such as tanks or barrels, you need to make sure that you fill them with water and purge them with an inert gas. So you can see here is a test question. Before welding on previously used containers such as tanks or barrels, it's best to clean and fill them with water or to purge them with an inert gas. Inert gas is a non-flammable gas. You push that non-flammable gas in there, it'll push out all the flammable gas and potentially won't blow up on you. Also, if you're doing any cutting or welding that's involving zinc, or cadmium. For long-term cutting or welding of these materials, you should always wear an approved full-face supplied air respirator, or SAR, for supplied air respirator. So, for long-term cutting and welding of materials containing cadmium, wear an approved full-face supplied air respirator. Prepping your welding area, there's going to be tables, benches, welding machines, welding surfaces, your steel, all that has to be properly prepared. Welding coupons. The weld coupon should be 3/8 of an inch thick. So you're going to have a test question that says, to conform with AWS, the limited thickness test coupon, emphasis on the word test coupon, has to be 3/8 of an inch thick. Now there is an exception to that. You can use as thin as 1/4 up to 3/4 for practice. So there's two different things being talked about here. Practice coupons, test coupons. For test coupons, it's 3/8 of an inch. That's what we cut in here in our bevel plate. That's 3/8 inch thick. The thinner stuff that we have for the backing strips and the padded beads, that's 1/4 of an inch. You can practice bevel plate with 1/4 of an inch, but if you're going to do a test, you have to use 3/8 of an inch. So remember, 3/8 is what you need. You can practice on different stuff. So scrolling on down, the root face. Root face. This little part right here, see, here's the bevel face. See bevel face right here? That's the bevel. That's the angle plate. But this little piece right here, this flat part, see it says root face. It's also called your landing or the land. That is 1/8 of an inch. 0 to 1/8 of an inch. The thicker it is, the less likely it is you're going to blow through. The thicker it is, typically the bigger the gap. And vice versa, the thinner it is, the tighter the gap. So you're going to see a test question that says, the portion of the edge of the part to be joined. So this is the part to be joined, the root face, that portion. The portion of the edge of the groove wheel that has not been beveled. Here's your bevel. This is still straight up and down. This has not been beveled, is called the root face, or land, or landing. Right there. So then we've got a little matching quiz here. You're going to have to match the correct electrode to its proper welding characteristic. And you have to read these and learn through, you should know these. If you don't, just memorize the ones that you, let's see, remove only a small number of electrodes. That's going to be a 7018 because the moisture stays in the oven. When running stringers, use a slight side to side, small pause at the end, with the weld toe to tie in and flatten the bead. That's going to be a 7018. Do not whip it. That's a 7018. When running weave bead, use slight pause at the weld toe. Anyway, you guys go through these. I'm not going to go through them. The next one is lash. What is lash? We're going to scroll down here. Lash is something that okay, for the match the electrode to its proper weld characteristics. You can see the 7018 removes a small number, does not whip, maintains short arc, removes all the slag between the passes. No, you need to remove slags. It doesn't burn it out like the 6010. Don't use low-high rods with chipped or missing flux. Then you go down here to, there's a both 6010 or 7018. Running stringer beads, use a slight side to side, small pause. When running weave, use a slight pause. Set the amps at the lower portion of the range for better puddle control. Never store electrodes loose on a table. A pail or other metal container must also be available to discard hot electrode stubs. Fire hazards, trip fall hazards, things like that. Preparing the machine, you guys are up to speed on that. We're going to go on by. Here's a little bit more on the 6010, 7018. Feel free to hit the pause real quick if you want to study that for a minute. Okay, lash. Let's talk about lash. To ensure good welding results, remember lash. L, length of arc. L, length of arc. The distance between the electrode and the base metal, arc length. So that's L. So you'll match the distance to L. A, travel angle. Two angles are critical. Travel angle, work angle. So remember those. Travel and work angle right there. I should probably put an A on that. The next one is S for speed, travel speed, and H for heat. So here's travel speed measured in inches per minute, and then this would be heat controlled by the amps. And finally, the section review, the radius used to form the shape of a J&U groove is called bevel radius. We've already covered that. And before welding on previously used containers, make sure you purge them with an inert gas or water. And that's going to wind it up for section 1. And good luck.